Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So a question is, like often atheists will come and they'll say, well, for instance, that God can't exist because of the problem of evil, right? And then the assumption with that question is the fact that is that they assume that evil exists and they can't prove that evil exists because what's evil is actually subjective if you don't have like any moral anchorage. And what I'm saying is, with the challenge of the Quran sociologically, how can you objectively say that the Quran is sociologically more impactful than any other book? Because it's all subjective, basically.
Okay. So, firstly, we have to look at the claim of the Quran.
Yeah.
The claim of the Quran is that this is a book that if it was revealed on a mountain, the mountain would crumble. This is a book by which, Allah says there's nothing like it. Yeah? Sorry, I'm losing my voice because I was talking for a long time there. So, the Quran makes a claim about it itself, that it's a book that changes society and people. And it doesn't make that claim, but it does do that. But the claim is about its uniqueness, how it does these unique type of things. So, not the unique. So losing trail of my thought here. The Quran speaks about sociological. Again, I'm messing this up. The Quran speaks about its. If you're in doubt, then produce something like it. Meaning that there's something about this Quran that cannot be replicated.
Sure.
Yes, there you go. I finally got my trail of thought.
Inimitable.
Yeah, there's that. So, when we look at the Quran, we can all agree it has a huge sociological impact.
Sure. Yes.
Your question is, you said the atheist asked you, well, the Bible has a sociological impact.
Yeah, like I haven't been asked this personally. This is kind of just what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you said the atheist asked you.
Right, yeah.
So, or Das Kapital by Marx, right? So other books have had sociological impact. Okay. Well, we would make the claim that actually the cumulative case for Islam is not just that there's a sociological impact, therefore it's true.
Yeah.
The sociological, the predictions, the linguistic, and overall the way that the Quran is miraculous is a cumulative argument. Now you said you read the book The Eternal Challenge, so it mentions more things than what I've mentioned now, but that's what's come to mind. So it's a cumulative case. The sociological aspect is a cumulative case within that. So we would say divorce Islam of Tawheed, divorce Islam of the predictions, divorce Islam of the linguistic miracle, divorce Islam of its teachings, and just focusing on, say, the sociological impact, you can't say it's a miracle.
Yeah.
What you can say is adding it together, the book has changed the world.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind, no book has made the impact the Quran has made. Now, when it comes to Das Kapital and how it's impacted the West and this type of thing, the Quran claims to be from God. Das Kapital does not claim to be from God. It claims to be exactly what it is. It claims to be a socialist manual, worker rights and how society should be run. The Quran is a book which is telling people to leave the immediate, leave money and desires and these things to focus on a greater goal.
Yeah.
Das Kapital, in a way, is telling you to give in to what you want. The Quran is telling you the opposite, which is to give up what you want to do, right? So, we're talking about base desires here. Now, it doesn't mean Islam curtails all desires. What I'm saying is Islam teaches restraint, teaches patience, teaches you can't be an unfettered hedonist, right? The fact that it tells you something so difficult, yet it's so successful, is amazing.
Yeah.
Even if you think about it from this perspective, you're how old? 16?
Yeah.
You're 16. You're somebody who technically you could go to nightclubs. You could go drink. You could go do haram things. You could do these things. Yet yourself and many youngsters that we meet, not only here in London, but many Muslim youngsters across the world, why do they turn to Quran? Why do they turn to theology? Why do they turn to Islam? Because deep down their fitrah is waking them up. Deep down their fitrah, when it connects with the Quran, you get light upon light. So that in of itself is a spiritual burhan. It's a spiritual proof as well of Islam. So collectively, we would look at it not only at the Quranic miracle, we would look at it from a logical point of view, we would look at it from a spiritual, miraculous point of view as well.
Okay. It's just so. I understand it's had a huge impact. I was talking to David about like how it has.
David?
Dawood, like,
Dawood.
Yeah, sorry.
You had a long conversation.
Yeah. He was giving me some examples. It's just like what I was trying to get at. I might have missed him explaining it or not understood something, but like let's say I'll just give an example. Origin of Species. I don't believe it's more influential than the Quran, but let's say someone said it was. Like you might. How do you objectively prove, not subjectively, that the Quran is more influential than the Origin of Species?
Good, very good. You would look at a few aspects. You would look at, for example, how often it's actually applied. So for example, let's take someone who's a hardcore Darwinist. They would read The Origin of Species. Would it impact them at 3 o'clock in the morning? No. Would it change their lifestyle overall? No. Would it change their outlook on the biosphere? Yeah. Would it change their behavior? No. The Quran as a book impacts every aspect of your life. Spiritual, moral, theological, the way society is governed, marriage, everything.
Yeah.
Even the way that in Islam, say for example, you sleep on the right, on your right, as opposed to your left. You leave the house with your right foot. You know, something happens, you say Subhanallah, right? All of these things, the way that the Quran is very heavy in terms of what it's asking you to do, but it impacts people. It changes people.
Yeah.
So firstly, if someone was to do a crude analysis of how many times has The Origin of Species been printed, how many times the Quran been printed, even then, The Origin of Species would lose.
Yeah.
But then if you look at how many times the Quran is read, recited, and acted upon every day, compared to The Origin of Species, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Right? Has The Origin of Species led to a government based upon Darwinism? No. Has the Quran led to empires based upon Islam? Yes. So there's very powerful key performance indicators we can use to try and show that the Quran has this sociological impact unmatched in human history.
So would you say, like, I think, because you might say though, if I would say Origin of Species had a greater scientific impact, or would you disagree with that?
I would disagree with that. It's a very good question though, because the revelation of the Quran is directly linked to the creation of the modern inductive scientific method. Hassan ibn Haytham, yes, thank you. So, science has been around for around 4,000 years. Well, it's disputable. Some people will go back, some people will say actually 500 years, some people will say 1,000. A good book on this is by this Cambridge historian, Patricia Farah.
Is it, or how complicated is the language?
It's pretty simple, Patricia Farah, for a science of 4,000 year history. Now in there you see there's a clear point of inflection, there's a clear point of distinction around 1,000 years ago, Hassan ibn Haytham.
Yeah.
Hassan ibn Haytham introduced what's known as the modern inductive scientific method, falsification, testing against the theory, with observation, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So he took inspiration from the Quran, he was a Quranic scholar, and the Quranic empire, which we call the Islamic empire, but in essence it's the Quranic empire, which led to the intellectual oxygen, in which you had the translation movement, in which you had the scientific movement. That's what allowed these ideas to flourish, and we can see a direct correlation between the critical thinking the Quran promotes and the creation of the modern inductive scientific method. So the Origin of Species is within the scientific paradigm. The Quran facilitated the modern inductive scientific paradigm. So it's exponentially more productive in terms of Islam's contribution to science.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, like, but is that not subjective though? You could say. You could say
No.
I have good reason for it, but it's not. You can't objectively say that.
It's subjective because it's historical fact. If I said to you, Lamarckian evolution in 1856, 1860, 1 year after the publication of The Origin of Species. If I said to you, Lamarckian evolution is more popular than Darwinian evolution, you'll find academics that can debate about it. Because Darwinism didn't take off straight away, right? Lamarckian evolution was quite popular for a while. That's subjective because you have different perspectives.
Yeah.
What was the cause of World War I, many answers, some subjective. There's obviously an objective truth. What is the most popular book on earth? The Quran. Why? It is the most acted upon book in the world. It is the most...
How do you know it's active?
Okay, good. The acted upon. Why? Today, did you do anything that identifies with Islam?
Great.
Prayed. Or you said Assalamu alaikum to me earlier. Okay. You acted upon the Quran. Find me a book in which billions of people every single day, every single hour, every single moment, all across the world are acting upon different aspects of the Quran. For example, when I see young Muslims, and I see especially converts like yourself, and converts who are young, again, one of the things I do, I try and smile to make you feel more welcome. That itself is acting upon Islam. So the Quranic impact is changing the lives of people every moment. The origin of species, Das Kapital, is always affecting an element of people's behavior for a limited period of time, for a limited duration, because you find these ideas, they come and go, come and go. Marxism was so bloody popular 100-something years ago, right? Then it got popular. I mean, there's periods where it's more popular than others. Now look at it. It's a fragmented, pathetic. I mean, the people who do celebrate Marx is the Chinese Communist Party, who are hardcore capitalists. Ironically, you know, they say socialism with Chinese characteristics, but it's unfettered capitalism. You know, they celebrated Marx's birthday recently. It's just token. Yeah, it doesn't count for anything.
Yeah. So it acts. So the Quran is always, it's like, as Raoul was saying, it transcends time in terms of the way, and it always affects people. So like another thing that I was mentioning is, if I would say the Bible does the same, and the Bible's actually lasted 2,000 years, the Quran's only lasted 1,400, would you say that so?
The first thing to understand, God's revelations, even if they're distorted, they still impact the lives of people for generations. So we believe there was an original revelation given to Isa alayhi salam.
Yeah.
We believe there was revelation given to Moses, peace be upon him. So the impact of these teachings across the world, because interestingly enough, the Islamic teaching of monotheism, Islamic teaching on alcohol, on remembrance of God, all these types of things, on either male-female interaction, you find this in some cultures across the world.
Yeah.
These could have been earlier revelations and prophets. So we don't deny the impact of previous revelations. So for example, Allah knows best, but there are people who came to Latin America before it was Latin America, when it was before the Spanish conquest. People who came to the Incas, the Mayans and the Aztecs, who called for Tawheed. And this is actually in their historical documents. This is something which later on was discovered. So the fact is, there were people always teaching these Islamic teachings.
Yeah.
Would those teachings have an impact? Yes, because they awakened the fitrah.
Yeah, and that was like another one of my questions was going to be, you talk about like fitrah, right? And about like how God seems to be innate within us, and you look at the history of civilization, but isn't it until Judaism became a thing? Wasn't paganism and polytheism the dominant like religion? I mean, it's not one unified religion. It wasn't polytheism the dominant ideology within all religion as opposed to monotheism.
So say that again?
If the fitrah like proposes monotheism, like puts monotheism within us, then why was like polytheism historically the most like popular ideology over monotheism? And monotheism's only become a thing since Islam, Christianity, and Judaism kind of rose.
So you're saying why is sorry, I didn't fully understand. Why has polytheism been popular for so long?
Yeah, as in it's sort of answered there. So it's actually it's not as in it's been popular, but monotheism is still a thing that people are calling.
The thing is, shirk, the association of partners with Allah. So the idea that Allah's perfection, Allah's majesty, Allah's holiness is divisible, which is what shirk is. The shirk is in essence, and we need to define what we're talking about, is the idea you can call upon other than Allah. So you can call upon prophets or saints, or you believe things give you a lucky charm, or amulets and superstitions, horoscopes. So it's not just as clear as idol worship. It's a lot more deeper than that. So there's three aspects. You may or may not have looked into this yet, but there's three aspects of Islamic monotheism. The first aspect is that we believe Allah to be the Lord of all creation. We believe Allah to be the creator of everything. It's the first aspect. Second aspect is we believe Allah to be the only one worthy of worship. You cannot worship anyone besides Allah. The third is that the names and attributes of Allah are unique. Allah is not like His creation, the creation is not like Allah. These three aspects, most of humanity accepts one. They accept Allah is the Khaliq, Allah is the Rabb, Allah is the creator and the Lord of everything. Christians, Hindus, Sikhs, everybody, pretty much everybody. Hindus believe ultimately there is one God, and then you have demigods who are like subservient, right? Some Hindus don't even believe in God. They're like, they believe in nature, and Hinduism is very wide, but I'm just giving you a generalization. They do have this belief in, because I remember I was speaking to this Hindu once and I asked him, why do you believe in many different gods? He said, we do believe in one overall. But that doesn't mean they're monotheists. They're still mushriks. Because they, just like the Quraysh believed in the first aspect of Tawheed. They believed Allah is the creator and the Lord of everything. But they gave powers to other demigods. Most of humanity fails in the second and the third. The second is the worship of Allah alone, and the third is likening Allah to His creation. So, how do we get on this topic again?
I think, like you were talking about Aztecs and stuff, and about how there's historical documents of them.
Yeah, before that.
I was asking, how is the Quran objectively made a greater sociological impact than others?
No, but after that, there's a reason I brought this up. I'm trying to remember where it was. Oh, you asked about the prevalence of shirk, the prevalence of polytheism. Yeah. So, humanity falls into these types of shirk. However, Allah has given us a fitrah, so we recognize it's wrong. And two, additionally, Allah sends prophets and messengers and revelation, so that we recognize. So most of humanity at certain points in history were mushriks. Most. Even today, if you look at how many people believe in Allah as you should, it's 3/4 of the world does not. 1/4 of the world, the Muslims, they believe Allah is the Lord, Allah is the only worthy worship, Allah's names and attributes are unique to Him. So the majority doesn't mean that's part of the fitrah. It just means that they have fallen prey to sociological impact, to shaitanic whisperings, and essentially thinking bad of Allah. Because what is shirk? Shirk is when you don't think Allah can give it to you, so you go to others.
That can come from okay. I think that's what I really wanted to ask.
Have you prayed Asr?
No.
Okay, let's go over there and let's pray, inshallah. It was good speaking to you. Let's head off and find some brothers to pray with. No, we're gonna go pray over there. Yeah. How are you doing, brother? Yes.
I've seen your videos online.
Oh, alhamdulillah. How are you doing? You good?
You're from Pakistan, right?
Yes. I'm from Pakistan. Where are you from?
Pakistan as well.
Is this yours?
Yeah,